What is up, guys? I'm Jay and welcome to another Honkai tutorial video. Now in today's video we're talking about the tier list changes that happened during the last two patches, because I think I skipped the last patch because there weren't any significant changes, but with the current patch we have some significant changes and I want to go over them in today's video. But before we hop into the topic of today's video, I will point you guys to my Discord server. Link for that is in the description of every video. So it is free to join for everyone. You will get notified whenever I do a upload. You will be able to connect with my community, to talk to them, or to ask me any questions on the server. Don't hesitate to join it. It's free for all. Yeah, with that out of the way, let's get back into the tier list. So we are, as always, on pride.gg. If you guys do not know, I'll always use their website for pretty much the tier list, mostly. Also for sometimes for other content like user trades and something. I don't use them for guides or something, but they still do great work on guides, so definitely make sure to check them out. I think they really deserve it. They also do really great work on other gacha games. I also use them on other games, but I think that for Honkai tutorial I especially like them because I mostly can agree with the things that they're doing in Honkai tutorial here on the tier list. Yeah, so in today's tier list, I will focus mainly on the blast category, because I noticed in my last tier list analysis, I was staying a little bit too much on the single target while I talked about the blast category. So this time, I will focus very mainly on the blast category, and then we sometimes want to sneak into the AoE, and I will leave out the single target for this video completely, because I don't really feel like that single target is that relevant currently in the game. We always fight multiple enemies, at least if the fight is harder, and especially in Memory of Chaos, which I think is like the only real content where we want to focus our tier list on, because like otherwise you can pretty much auto clear every content that is available in the game, and except for Memory of Chaos, if your units aren't that high end on their building, or yeah, if you're like not that far into the end game that you can even auto clear Memory of Chaos, I think this is still the hardest content, right? Okay, so this tier list is pretty much from the 6th of December, so it's quite some time. I did my last change, I did my last tier list analysis when Topaz released, so it's quite some time, and there were some significant changes happen here. I think I record the video like around 2 weeks later, so it is pretty much on the 19th of December, and so we're all like 13 days behind, and I will even upload the video maybe a little bit later than the 19th of December. But yeah, it should be alright. So we will go over certain things. I will also mention something about the current things. Yeah. So let's go over this first. So Argenti and Honkai are added to the tier list. They just came out last week. No, even I think like even 2 weeks ago. And yeah, we want to check their reviews. So the Memory of Chaos became much harder with the start of the 1.5 phase. I don't want to go over this, but I definitely can agree that Memory of Chaos in the first phase of patch 1.5 was very, very hard. It was one of the hardest Memory of Chaos that ever released. But what significantly changed, which is not currently available in this changelog, is the second phase of the Memory of Chaos in patch 1.5, and I have to say that this is one of the easiest Memory of Chaos that ever released, because I'm currently able to auto clear the Memory of Chaos of the second phase. I'm auto cleared on 30 stars with my free-to-play account. I definitely do a video on that, probably I think probably after the tier list. So maybe one of the next videos that we'll release will be a auto clear where I try to use my teams on my free-to-play account and auto clear this, and I want to show you guys that. But in the first phase of patch 1.5, I struggled to clear it. I needed multiple attempts to 30-star clear the Memory of Chaos, while the current one is very easy. So I think still, even though the current Memory of Chaos changed and it became easier, I would still take the first phase Memory of Chaos as a reference, since this was the hardest content ever released, and now we can see like how these units performed or placed on the tier list based on this Memory of Chaos, right? Okay, so yeah, let's start like with the 4 categories. We have the damage dealers, the debuffers, the amplifiers, sustain units. There's nothing too new here. I think there is kind of self-explanatory. So these are mostly hunt and destruction, erudition characters. We have some nihility characters included here, like Kafka, but mostly it is hunt, destruction, and erudition characters. This is mostly only nihility characters, except for some for one other character here, which is Topaz. I still don't know why she belongs into the debuff category, but yeah, it's whatever. Then we have the amplifiers. These are harmony characters only, and sustain characters are preservation and abundance characters. So basically tanks and healers, buffers, so characters that can increase the strength of other allies in the party. These can decrease the strength of the enemies, and these are basically there to kill the enemies, right? Okay, so we go here for damage dealers. So we only have one S plus character right now, which is Jing Liu. The only current king is Jing Liu, and yeah, we just sneak into the AoE category. Okay, we have some more, but we want to talk about Jing Liu. So probably this means Jing Liu is now officially the queen, undoubted the queen of DPS. So Imbibitor Lunae was there before, and now Jing Liu is here. Can I agree with this? I think yes. I honestly think I can agree. Moving down Imbibitor Lunae doesn't necessarily mean that he is worse in strength or something. It's just that I always had to say that I thought Jing Liu is better since her kit is, in terms of damage, they are like kind of equal. I think Imbibitor Lunae even does a little bit more damage than Jing Liu. But what the big difference between those units was that Jing Liu is able to be a skill point neutral DPS, which I think is, there's only one other character in this column here, which is a skill point neutral DPS. And I think that this is really, really, really relevant. So yeah, if we talk about that, moving down, let's see if Imbibitor Lunae is also here. So Imbibitor Lunae moved down from the S plus tier to the S tier. So I think this is the next most relevant unit that we want to talk about here. And we want to go onto the changelog for that, because there is a big wall of text for him here. So let's go over this. So they put him from S plus to S tier everywhere. Well, it was good while it lasted, huh? Sadly, Cooler Daniel had lost the battle for supremacy with Jing Liu this patch. His performance compared to other E0 damage dealers isn't that good, as he really struggles with skill points, and while Hania releases will help him a bit, it won't fully fix him. Overall, the difference between his E0 and E2 is massive, and it feels like playing a different character. But considering that we're comparing the characters at E0, we decided to drop him down a tier in every category. Jing Liu simply performs much better and is easier to use at the same time. Update the current Memory of Chaos phase buff, which doesn't help Cooler Daniel at all, was also a factor in the rating change. On top of the reasons mentioned above, if the next enemy setup buff for a new character being released will positively affect his performance, his rating will be adjusted. Some, as with any other characters on the tier list, moving forward we will make sure to list all factors affecting a character in the bullet point. This time we tried something new with a generic intro to the changelog and missed the mark a bit. We're also working on some something called MOC point review, basically an article that will review the current MOC phase and highlight how the enemy setup and buffs affect the characters, blah blah blah. So yeah, I think this is not relevant for the tier list. It's just relevant that for the changelog and like for Memory of Chaos as a category on their website at all. So yeah, moving him down I think is not a too bad idea, but it seems a little bit odd that Jing Liu is now a whole tier up against Imbibitor Lunae. Because I still think Imbibitor Lunae is way better than at least these two units that are here in the Blast and as well in the AoE category. I don't know. I think like I can probably live with the fact that they moved him down, but it seems like still kind of odd that he is like in the same tier as these. While in my opinion, he's clearly better. I mean, in the changelog, they just compared him to Jing Liu, which yeah, I kind of can agree with, because I never tested a Imbibitor Lunae on E2. I have to say, I tested him on E0 on other accounts, but I never tested an E2 Imbibitor Lunae, so I don't have in comparison to that. And maybe I have to admit and have to agree on this, but it still seems for me kind of odd that he is paired with these two units. So yeah, talking about these two units, we have Chinquay and Sealy both here, unchanged, and that's why I don't want to really talk about them. I think they still do belong in this tier, in this S category tier, because in my opinion they are better than the units underneath here. But the only odd thing, as I already said, is having them in the same tier as Imbibitor Lunae. I think this is still a little bit strange. Okay, Argenti's here. Do we have any infos on Argenti in the change log? Check their reviews for more information. So yeah, they don't really talk about Argenti. I think Argenti is a great addition. I was able to play him a bit, not too much, because one of my friends pulled him, and yeah, I was able to test him like a bit, not too much. Saw some gameplay about him, and I really have to say that in terms of AoE, yeah, I really think he's insane. He's really insane. I think in AoE he should be S plus, while in the blast category he is S. Right? Okay, yeah, nice. He's S plus in this category. So yeah, like he's the king of AoEs, right? He's right now the only relevant AoE character. That's why I think his placement is very, very fair. I was a little bit afraid that they would put him on the A tier, because I really think he belongs on the S tier in the blast category, and into the S plus tier into the AoE category. Yeah, I really think like he deserves this spot, and I think like him next to Imbibitor Lunae seems like okay to me. But like these two in the same category, in the same tier, seems a little bit odd to me still. But overall, I can live with it. I mostly still agree with this decision. Okay, let's get into the next unit, which are these four, right? Let's see who is the first in the changelog to talk about this unit. So we have Jing Yuan. Okay, Jing Yuan is the first unit. He was S before everywhere, and then he moved down a whole tier. The first victim of Kulo Daniel dropping down a tier, but Jing Yuan also struggled a lot in the new MOC phase, both because of the elements being changed and the new buff, which is much weaker than in the previous cycle. Yeah, I think this is just something that has to happen. If Imbibitor Lunae moves down, then other units that were here also have to move down, because this is why I basically think it is odd to me to see him next to this. Because I think for the Pride Win people, or for the person who made the tier list, this should also be the case. If he moves down, he comes into the category where all the other units were also. I think like these three were in the S tier before, and they're clearly not on the same level. It doesn't mean that they necessarily got worse, right? It just is because of the current MOC phase. Like in future patches, it definitely can happen that like one of these four characters move up again. And that's why I really think that this is what happened here. Let's see, is he also moving down here? Yeah, okay, so he is like a category across the board right now. I was never really a big fan on Jing Yuan, but I also never hated him, honestly. So, and I also have to say, I didn't play him a lot. He's like one of the characters that I played the least. But I think that I really can agree. For me, it is again like I cannot really compare him to these three characters, because I use these three characters way more. Because Blade, my friend has a Blade, and I do own these two characters, so I can clearly compare these, and I really feel like that they are very, very good. But with the experience that I have of Jing Yuan, I thought like he's worse than these three. But as I said, I don't have enough experience to judge him and to clearly say that he is a BT character. Because if I see the BT characters right now, I kind of think of that Jing Yuan is not in this category just by seeing the characters. I feel like really Jing Yuan belongs in this category, while maybe he is the worst out of those four, in my opinion. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to the next character. In the changelog, it is Blade and Kafka. Okay, let's go over them together. Because I think always when there is a movement happening in the tier list with Blade or Kafka, I think they move both of them. I think they never just move Blade or never just move Kafka. If there is a movement happened, then there is always both of these. So Blade and Kafka both move down from S to A tier in the Blast and AoE category. The second victim of Kulo Daniel dropping down a tier, but similarly to Jing Yuan, the current blah blah blah. He's really massive. Yeah, right. Okay. So basically the same. It's the same like for Jing Yuan. And the third victim, while a lot of other DPS characters got stronger due to synergies with recently released characters, Kafka is still waiting for the dedicated DOT support or a 5-star DOT damage dealer. Yeah, I think I also really can agree with that Kafka is waiting for another DOT release. She has a lot of DOT members in her team, but there are mostly 4-star characters, and even on E6, you will notify a significant difference to other teams, because Kafka right now is like the strongest DPS for DOT. While she's not really supposed to be that. I think she's more as an amplifier. So she doesn't work like these units exactly, because these units say put that stat for that amount higher. While Kafka just says your DOT damage will do more damage, while her own DOT damage will also do more damage. So that's why I think she is still right in this category, but she has like the function to be an amplifier for this specific type. And as a DOT main, which is like one of my favorite team, or actually it is my favorite team because Kafka is my favorite unit, I really have to say, yeah, she badly needs it. Because I use her with Gneifen, I use her with Sampo, I probably use her even with Serval, and I really feel the difference from the Jing Liu team to the Kafka team. And that's why I can agree that Kafka is 2 tiers below than this. And since Kafka is like on the same level like these 3 characters, which 2 of them I already used a lot, one of them I don't have a real comparison, but I just assume that he's as good, or at least in the same tier as them. I really can agree with the placement of Kafka here. Yeah. Okay, let's move down to B tier first. So Herda moved up a tier, and Himiko also moved up. So I think this is due to the follow-up support with Topaz release. I think. Oh no, she moved the tier down. She wasn't A tier because of Topaz. Oh no, so I think this moved up because of the release of Argenti, and this just moved down because the current MOC phase rotated the follow-up buff out. So yeah, I think that should be like the reason why they are here. Okay. There are barely any fire enemies in this MOC, so sadly Himiko's usage rate and performance drastically dropped. Yeah, basically, okay. So it was not because of the follow-up, it basically was because of fire. Fire was favored in the last MOC because of the release of Topaz. Now they just changed that. Yeah. Himiko for the blast category, same as above. And who is Herda here? Herda's performance in blast scenario is actually decent, so we decided to bump her a bit in this category. Okay, so actually it was not any of the reasons that I mentioned. They just played a little bit more with the character, moved her up, moved Himiko down, because there are no fire enemies. So yeah, I think I can agree with that still though. I don't know. I think I don't want to go over these, even though there was movement happening. Maybe we want to go on Yanqing, because he is right now. Look at this. He's like right now the worst character in the game, and it is a 5-star. He got outperformed by the standard 4-star characters right now. So let's maybe take a quick look at Yanqing, right? Yanqing is now pretty much. So he moved from. He was already C tier and he moved down to D tier. he aged badly. So many AoE and CC enemies were added to the MOC in the last 2 phases, and he struggles a lot. The incoming damage is so big that Japort can't really keep his shield up all the time, which leads to Yongqing getting hit and loses his buff. So if you guys don't know, Yongqing only has his full damage potential as he don't get hit. You wanted to use him with Japort, give him a shield so they won't break the shield, so it doesn't count that he gets a hit. So he was on his full potential, but because they increase the damage, the Japort shield won't last enough to keep Yongqing's buffs alive. So that's why, yeah, he moved down to the D tier. I think that's kind of shocking to me. A standard 5-star character is now pretty much the worst unit on this tier list. Look at this. They're all only DPS characters are in C and D category. There's no of the other categories in this C or D tier. And Yongqing moved. He was already C tier. He was already down below, and he moved down to D tier. All right. So for debuffers, I think there's no movement happening, right? Okay, we only have on Blast and AoE. So for Blast, the top 2 characters are still these 2. This is unchanged from the last list, and I also don't think that we should move any other character up. The only thing why I still don't really understand why Topaz is here, I know that she has this thingy that you can put on to the enemy, and then you will do increased follow-up attack. I forgot the name about this. But I know how the character works, though. And isn't that more so something of an amplifier? I don't know. I'm not sure about her just putting into the category. But I can agree, if she is in here, that she is not on the same level as these 2. Because her strategy is kind of niche. Her synergy is like follow-up characters. We currently don't have anyone. I know that we will get Dr. Ratio very, very soon. And he possibly could fit into this for follow-up characters. Also, we get the next patch after this, which possibly can even include more follow-up characters, so she will become more relevant, and maybe then she gets over here. But still, for right now, I think that her strategy is kind of niche compared to these, because these are generic debuffers that you can put into any type of team comp, while these 2 are really, really good, but you have to use them in their specific team comp, like this in a DOT team and this in a follow-up team. Yeah, same is for these. So I think he is like also generically very, very good, but he cannot be compared to those 4, because I think like he's like from the type like these 2 characters. But the thing is that he wants to do a little bit more. He also wants to do damage, while he also wants to be a debuffer. That's why I think like he's more the all-rounder in this debuffer category. He has a little bit of these 2, and he has a little bit of these 2. In terms of like of damage, he has a little bit more so of Topaz. Even though he is not focused on follow-up, he's just focused on debuffing and doing damage with debuffs. And yeah, that's why I think like you cannot compare him to anything that they do, because his debuffs are worse. The debuffs are like insanely godly good, while his is average. And his damage is also average, while in their certain team comps, the damage of them are at least very, very good. So yeah, I think it's a fair placement. For these 2, they're only usable if you have Kafka. So yeah, I think it's clear to put them into the B tier. They're all okay-ish units. I use Sampo. I really feel the difference on Sampo to any other character that does damage in my character box. And that's why I have to place Sampo here. I think it is a fair placement. It could be even worse if you don't have Kafka and you want to use them. If you don't have Kafka, I would not recommend to use them, because then they're even worse. I think just because I have Kafka, it is kind of okay to use Sampo. All right. So for the amplifier category, there's one change happening for Yukong. Let's see in the changelog what they're telling about her. So Yukong S, and move down from S to A. Another victim of Cool Daniel dropping down a tier. Yukong is mainly used in teams with Daniel and requires a lot of min-maxing to actually perform well. The other ST amplifiers are much easier to use and have a lot of teams where they shine, so keep Yukong with them doesn't make sense. Sorry. Yeah, I think I can really agree with that. I wasn't really a fan at all of Yukong in this tier. I think as of the beginning, I would always want to put Yukong here because I still think like these are like the top tier. These are like the most insane characters. I think I think Rune Mei will get. I think Rune Mei will get included into this probably. And I also think that Rune Mei will possibly hold up to these, even though I don't know about a kid. But she's the first 5-star harmony character that gets included into the game, or the first limited one. So I am pretty sure that she has to be S plus tier. And like Hania as the new addition, but she is a very niche character, same as for Asta. That's why I think that S tier is very fair because again, these are like the most generic amplifiers. You can put in pretty much every team comp, while these are more niche characters, more specified on your team comp. Like it depends on what team comp you use, then you would use any of these two characters, which I think is fair. While this is an even more specific character, as I already said, you want to mainly use her only alongside with Imbibitor Lunae. I have her, and I never used her. And I have even friends that have her on E6 and never use her. I have friends that have her on E6 alongside with Imbibitor Lunae, and they don't use her because they don't want to use the resources to build this character. They rather use one of these two characters because they did already build them, and then pair them alongside one of these two characters, and then you have 2 slots Imbibitor Lunae, and the last slot automatically has to be a sustain unit. So I think it is very fair to move Yukong down. I would have even moved her down on the last tier list already. Yeah. Then for the last one should be a little bit faster. So yeah, I just wanted to sneak in a little bit for the AOE category to see here. Yeah. So Wolf is just down because she is not as good in AOE scenarios. She cannot hit multiple enemies. I think kind of same for these 3 characters. For Blast, because they all can do Blast, but they cannot do AOE. And yeah, he also can do hit multiple enemies, while I think Luca cannot hit multiple enemies. Well, this is another change here. So for amplifiers, this should be the same. And for the sustain units, is there a change? Okay, no, there's no change. So sustain units is unchanged this patch because there is no real new addition. Ho-Ho was the last addition. I skipped the tier list when Ho-Ho released, but I definitely think these 3 are the top 3 sustain units. I still do believe, before the new Memory of Chaos releases in patch 1.6, that Locha and Fushuan are slightly better than Ho-Ho. So they're not so much better that I would put them in another tier. I still think that Ho-Ho belongs into the S plus tier. But these 2 compared to Ho-Ho, I think, are still a little bit better. I think they're a little bit better than Ho-Ho. While Ho-Ho is still belongs to the category. Japod and Lynx are here. Lynx is a super good addition into the game. She outclasses literally every healer that existed before except for Locha. So Bailu and Natasha got pretty much outclassed by Lynx. And we also get a Lynx 3 to play in the next patch, which is a great thing. So if you didn't pull for Lynx, or if you weren't around when Lynx released, this will be a chance to get her for 3. You don't even have to summon for the character, you get her completely for 3. Yeah, for the other characters there, it is unchanged, so I don't want to talk too much about this. I think like the sustain unit of placed very fairly, like these being like the best of the best. These are like your next best options. They're all really good, but they're all like not the top tier characters here. If you don't own like for example, if you don't own this would be a replacement. If you don't own one of these 2, this would be a replacement. Or if you need like another character for the second half, you will also choose one of these 2. And if you don't have this, you'll automatically go down to this. I still use Natasha though, and just having her compared to Locha is horrible. Natasha is so horrible to use. I have to honestly say that Natasha is really horrible to use. I also still use Trailblazer and also think it is kind of horrible to use. But I'm still able to do it with these 2 characters, which means that the game is still not hard enough, even though they increased the power level of the current of this Memory of Chaos phase where the tier list was made. I think I still, even though the current memory of chaos become easier, I think I would still agree with most of the changes still for the second memory of chaos phase in this patch 1.5. I think we can change that as Runmei releases. I don't know if I will be around to do the tier list when Runmei releases. I'll probably maybe do it again on the second phase of the patch 1.6. So when Dr. Ratio releases, I will do the next tier list update. But up till then, this will probably be in the next year, guys. So this tier list today was a little bit longer. The changelog was also longer because a lot of changes happened. I tried to only take a look at the blast damage as I promised. Hope you guys did enjoy today's video. I will put timestamps in if it was like, if you want to just listen to a specific category. And I see you guys next time. Bye.